Welcome back to the Conscious Business Podcast. On this episode, we talk about advertising techniques, and then we talk about networking and new arrivals and low-hanging fruit. And then we talk about limiting our actual hands-on time with our business and scalable habits. And then we're going to talk about the age-old factor of quantity over quality. It's the opposite. And then we're going to talk about tweaks we've had to make in our business over time as we progress. And then I get picked on a little bit about who my no-go clients are. And now to the episode. This is the Conscious Business Podcast. Okay, what about from the real estate side of things? Not so much the mortgage broker side of things. You have your things to work. Like, what is going to be our go-to thing? Like, you know, we've got 7 days in a week. What are we doing with our time to best fill it to stay on top of the market? Because what I see happening anytime it gets slow, all the big billboard realtors, they're doing the most business, and the people that have been at the bottom disappear
100%,
and they just absorb it all. Because people are like, oh, things are getting serious now. We better call X, Y, and Z realtor over here because they got billboards everywhere. They must know what they're doing.
They must be professionals.
Yeah. But is that not fall back onto that billboard is then reaching said client?
Yeah.
Right? So like any real estate professional, even honestly notaries or anything like that, have to be in front of the clientele. Mm-hmm. So whether that is a phone call of just, hey, how are you? Like, this is Clayton from, a year and a half ago. I'm just checking to see how you're doing. How's the house? Have you had any issues? Like, just be a human and show that you're caring. Obviously, that can be a little bit different. Jesse maybe doesn't necessarily have the same database that you would.
Or same capacity of feelings.
Right. Yeah. Or he's
a human. Sorry.
He's a robot. Yeah. So, he doesn't care about people at all. But cold. I think that's why you see the people that are, across on the billboard stuff that do get that bigger market shares because they are in front of those people.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to point one thing out. My intention with all my advertising is to provide shelter for the people I take care of. And then I always look at these benches and billboards, and there's no shelter provided by that actual product, right? And that to me, I think is like counterintuitive as a real estate agent to provide.
So
right? Like I really do. It doesn't make sense to me that you would put your name on a billboard to try and get a client.
What about an advertisement on a shopping cart?
Okay, right? So I always think that the only reason realtors in particular get like a billboard or a ton of benches or whatever.
Don't I look good in this photo?
Is strictly a write-off because they make too much money.
No, I think it was all part of getting there, and now they keep it there just because. But I mean,
but I've never seen something on a bus bench or a billboard that I've been like, I need to call right now and see if I can get that problem.
Man, those words are eloquent.
That's you though. And that's never how it works. Psychologically, all that is to keep you top of mind. So that like when you're like, oh God, oh man, I gotta move. Like, okay, like I gotta call a realtor. Then you're like, realtor. That guy I saw on the bus bench, he's a realtor. I see him all the time. Let's call that guy.
Yeah.
Right. If you don't have someone in your circle.
I get that. That's the idea behind it. But again, I've never not even an advertisement in a newspaper have I been like, oh, there's A1 Plumbing. That's who I want to call. And if that's a real company, I'm sorry. But like, probably. Right? Like I've never been like, oh, that's who I want to call. I'm going to be like, okay, who do I know it's a plumber in my sphere? Or who may know a plumber, aka you or somebody else, and then reach out that way.
We all grew up in the valley, right? And a lot of people are moving here to Fraser Valley. Not many people have these networks built up, and they are desperate to find people. And I think those are who they grasp, right? Like the low-lying fruit is who we're picking off when we do these advertisements.
The low-lying fruit that make a lot of money.
Yeah. No, but you know what? Let's just make a number, 10,000. You grab 10,000 off of that bench, that pays for it, right? Like that advertisement is done, right?
That's where I say I think people got they used it as a tool to help them get where they needed to go. Because like I say, for 2 years of advertising on a bus bench, you need one phone call to turn into a transaction.
And
know
you're
what I mean?
covered.
Maybe a billboard's a little bit different because those are rather expensive. I would not want to pay that, but that's just me. But how many calls do you need to get a year to pay off that billboard? 2, 3, right? So you see where the return is if you go big on advertising. But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, like I don't want to be that busy to the point where like I'm not enjoying myself, and I have, like I wouldn't want to have 30 listings at a given time.
Yeah.
Like I understand, I want to scale, I want to succeed, I want to do this and that, but like if my name's on all 30 of those, I don't know, I feel like that's spreading myself kind of thin. Well, of course I would assumedly have a team in place and staff, but yeah, I don't know, just being that big when the financial return isn't really an exponential scale. It's once you hit a certain point on your own and then you start pumping money into other employees, other things, sure, you're still scaling, you're still growing, but is the actual return for your time and energy going to be fully worth it to your balance of life?
So that's where, like after my last year, that's where getting this coach is how I wanted to scale it back a little bit, because I had a deal where I had like 21 closing in a month, right? And I was like, literally woke up that morning and was like, fingers crossed, there's no fires put out at the lawyers, because I'm like, I can't do like multiple fires, right? Like if like I've had it where dyslexia kicked in and it was like 563, but instead it was 536, like 536,000. I went to the lawyer, so we were short $30,000, right? Like I've had just small situations where this, like, it can be very time consuming, and documents don't go back and forth very quickly, right? But that was my thought, is like, I love the monetary side of it, don't get me wrong, it was a great month, it was a great time that I could be like, ooh, look at me. But like on a lifestyle standpoint, like that's not scalable. Like to have 20 plus deals every single month, just myself, like then kiss my relationship goodbye, like my son will never see me, like that's just not like, there's more to things than business at that point, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like I like going to his baseball games. I don't need to be in the office till 9 o'clock every night.
I know. And actually, Jesse, when he picked me up earlier today, I was like kind of bummed because I saw through social media that like one of like my really good friends listed with a big billboard agent. I'm like, we've been talking about selling your house for like 2 years. Like, as much as it's like, oh, pity party me, like, have a little pity party and get over it. Like as at the end of the day, as long as they're happy and get what they want, I'm happy. Like I don't care that much, but it's still like, then you look on the other side of the coin, I'm like, man, like that human being has 40 listings right now. Like how much time and attention is my friend getting with that person? Like, are they really even doing anything extra to help? Like I'm curious. I'm maybe they are. Maybe they can manage 40 listings, but myself, I have a little minute of a pity party. My friend didn't use me. Then I'm like, who cares? They're using the realtor from before, big name.
Going for quality over quantity is so much more important in my eyes, because you can give yourself, right? Like you're the image of your company.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So why wouldn't you why put so much money into an investment when you're not actually investing your own time into it, right? Because it takes money to run a listing. It takes money to operate that listing, and it takes money out of, let's say time is money. Listings are staying on the market much longer than we saw before. But if you can't put your full heart into it, are you actually doing the job?
Well, I know too, having been able to work with a handful of the quote unquote 1% of the Fraser Valley, that most of the time the clients aren't that happy with them, because they're not dealing with them. They're dealing with whoever their assistants are, or however they've structured their business.
And actually, funny enough, about that same billboard realtor, like I've had lunch with him multiple times. Like he's actually a really nice guy, and for how busy he is, and he only has one assistant, he is very good at managing his clients and their expectations. So like I have a big amount of respect for him, because he does do very well. But it's still down deep down inside. I'm like,
Of course, yeah.
But and the beautiful thing about like being in our position, it's so easy to say I would never want to be that busy when I've never been that busy, right? Like I only want to have a couple listings, but that's all I've ever had. So it makes it easy.
Yeah, no, and it's a little bit different, I think, on the broker side of things, because like market wise, if you don't look at last year, the average broker does like 10 deals a year. So like if you take out like the crazy what we've just had, like, you know, it wasn't very long until I had a 10 deal closing month, right? So for you guys a little bit different because I have to do more units than you guys have to, but like I would much rather do 10 deals every month than have like 20 deals every couple months.
Do you like? I find I'd rather learn right now in my current stage, and take away a lot more knowledge from when I work on something. I just don't want to be a robot. I don't want to go into a system and like A, B, C. I want to be able to like learn and develop and tweak and improve as I go along, right? And now that you're at year 4, you're doing these tweaks and you see where you're effective. You see what's failing. Where are you trying to tweak now that before you were just flying by the seat of your pants?
Yeah, so I like the biggest thing I would say would be like a no-go list is like the biggest one that I've adjusted, because there's a lot of things in finance world that like sure I can give, you know, Clayton here because he has a corporation, I can give him the best financial way to do things, how to structure things, but unfortunately if he goes to certain banks, they will be able to set it up better than I can. Mm-hmm. Like with my advice, they'll set it up, but like I just don't have access to that product, right? So like for me, I don't really do anything when it comes to holdcos because they can walk into their bank and just set it up perfect for them right off the get-go, right? And then we can talk about different strategies afterwards, and at least they'll still think of me as the solution for them.
Person that gave advice. You were a middleman.
Yeah. But like for me, like the client we talked about earlier who doesn't make enough money but it's going to bring on a cosigner to afford more property, right? Like that was a very easy, like I can't help you. Like you can get the condo you want this way, but you won't be coming through me for it.
I'll share with you. I genuinely feel like I'm going to get fired today by one of my clients. But in my mind, I was like, you know what? Like this guy doesn't fit your needs. And I took this client on early, like well before I put my foot in the door. But I took him on out of excitement. If I could tell right away, like he wasn't motivated. I could feel that he had dealt with another agent before and wasn't successful. And it made me ask myself, like, what was he doing? Well, I'm a new agent and I'm eager and I can help him out. But then you see these signs, right? And that experience that you get from working with people create that no-go list, showing people product or meeting them the first time or being demanded to put in an offer and you know there's something not right. So you feel your feelers, right? And it comes with time. 4 years, you've had a lot of time. 5 years, like what's your no-go? What are some of the things that you avoid?
Do you have a no-go? Because I know your business is a lot of like center of influence for you.
Yeah. My business is mostly sphere of influence based. I don't know if people are gonna be flaky on communication and like unwillingness to provide me information that we need to move forward with the transaction. I'm like, well, I'll help you once you give me this stuff, but until then, like I can't waste too much of my time and also your own time. Like, come, like, you know what I mean? Just come prepared.
Yeah, like people come in unfinanced. They don't check their wallet, right? How many people here, when you go up to a counter at like the grocery store and you go and you check your phone and you check your balance, right? Like, is this the transaction actually going to go through? Mm-hmm. You're essentially needing to do that when you do a real estate transaction. You need to know that your wallet has that money in it.
Yeah, but like with that, yes, you're right. And everyone should be pre-qualified before they ever go into a purchase, or even a sale, realistically. But there's so many people that bought in 2014 that things are like 900 degrees different than how they were then, right? So they just assume that because it was this way when I bought 8 years ago, that I can do it again, right? There was no stress test then. Or I have a client the other day that his only purchase was an 87 of the detached home he has right now, which of course he bought for whatever, and it's $1.5 million at this point. He's like, I can go into the bank tomorrow and they'll have the money by the end of the week. And I'm like, it won't work that way. But like, you can have this preconceived notion.
Yeah.
Like
Equity is in everything, right? Like you still have to pay the portion that needs to be financed. So thank you for tuning in to the Conscious Business Podcast. There'll be another episode next week. Tune on in.